Inadequate funding and poor working conditions have heavily contributed to nationwide teacher strikes and shortages that have intensified in recent years. In my home state of South Carolina, we've been seeing escalating teacher turnover and declining teacher education enrollment.
As a whole in education, we don't do a very good job of retaining talent in any demographic category. Teachers stay in education usually because of their commitment, because of their passion, because of their dedication to children. Very rarely is it because of what we do to actively retain them. And that's a problem.
Beyond substantive improvement in teacher compensation, research has repeatedly found a positive relationship between administrative support and teacher retention. Consequently, my colleagues and I conducted a study to better understand teachers' perception of the relative importance of different types of administrative support for teacher retention. These supports were frequently identified in the research as important. What we found across schools of varying geographic context, degree of teacher staffing challenges, and grade level was that respect was consistently identified as the most important factor for teachers in their intention to turnover.
We had the opportunity to talk from and learn from both teachers and school leaders. The interviewees were not surprised at all to see that respect was the highest ranked attribute from our quantitative results.
Respect means valuing others despite our differences or personal grievances. It means treating teachers as the professionals that they are and not trying to micromanage or nitpick them, but rather allowing them the autonomy to do what they know is best for each and every student in their classroom. It means keeping an open flow of communication, and it means valuing our differences in a way that's accepting and inclusive of all cultures and races and genders.
Teachers spend a lot of time and energy and effort into building relationships with their students so that they feel valued and seen and appreciated, not just as people who are learning in our classes, but in individuals and as in who they are. And I think admin can show respect to their teachers in the exact same way.
The respect piece really comes in to actually listening to what their staff has to say and helping them in the implementation process of new ideas, and not just asking for those ideas, but actually following through with some of the ideas that teachers bring to the table. Too many times, staff feel that their voices don't matter after being at the table and their views being overlooked. In terms of pushback on community disrespect towards teachers, I would love to see my personal administration more outspoken about it, or district leaders more outspoken about it.
So then when I think about what respect looks like when it's present in a school that's making respect tangible, you would have open dialogue, high standards, professionalism.
Ways that administrators can humanize and show respect in the workplace is by making it an inclusive workplace. They could offer opportunities for constructive feedback and allow opinions to be included in all the decisions that are made that affect the stakeholders directly. This could be the students, community, and the teachers.
Our admin does a fantastic job of this. They're in our classes, they're building relationships with their faculty and their staff. They're sharing in our wins in staff meetings and letters, and they're reminding us that they are alongside us in the trenches through the highs and the lows. That is an incredibly powerful demonstration of respect, and instead of just sending us an email that says, hey, I respect and value you as people, they're right there with us.
We have to really accept the notion of safe spaces and brave spaces. We have to be deliberate in creating channels for safe spaces. With these brave spaces, what we have to rely upon is for the leaders in those groups, the leaders in those circles, to make active efforts to include the voices of those team members. Ensure that you share the space with them. Intentionally give them the mic to share what their ideas are. Then to validate what those ideas are in these settings by acknowledging the worth of what they've contributed. By doing that, the person who holds the power, the person who benefits from the structures that are in place, they are demonstrating bravery because they're looking at this setting. They're realizing that there are going to possibly be opportunities where this team member is not going to be included, and they're going to be very purposeful in making sure that their voice is heard.
Humanizing the education workplace has always been important, but even more so during the COVID pandemic, where numerous educators were literally losing their lives and so many others stressed beyond imagination, especially at the pandemic's onset, where they were expected to continue to show up to work at a time when the state was demanding people across most sectors stay home. By showing up daily, most educators felt they were not only putting themselves and their students at risk, but also their own families, including children and the elderly, which they had to go home to each and every day. The pandemic also changed the way most classrooms operated, which, along with its emotional toll, resulted in education employees requiring new levels of differentiated support.
I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Tran and Dr. Cunningham on looking at talent-centered educational leadership during the pandemic. And the leader that had the talent-centered leadership focus started to focus on the faculty, on the staff. What are their needs? Are the teachers getting what they need to meet the students' needs? Oftentimes they would have meetings for the faculty and staff to share what they see that are needs going on. One of the pieces that was brought to the attention of the leadership was that students couldn't actually make it to school to pick up food. So what ended up happening is the school then ended up taking the food to the community. So we have to think of things differently, but the communication had to be two directions. Another aspect that is so important is to remember that they are professionals. None of us have gone through a pandemic before, so those who had the talent-centered focus gave grace. The one superintendent said, hey, you never did this before. If you messed up today, tomorrow's a new day, we'll learn something better. That helped the teachers to know, hey, they know I'm trying, and to give them support. I really hope that all of you embrace the talent-centered leadership and see how that makes such a difference for your working staff.